Not quite? Okay. Okay. I'm going to give them, good evening, everyone. I'm going to give the tech people just a couple more minutes. We like it when things are streamed so people can watch later. That's me. Okay.
So he's up and going?
Yes. I'll go ahead and get started. We'll do the pledge and stuff. Well, welcome everybody at 6:01. We're going to go ahead and get our meeting started. We start with a Pledge of Allegiance. There's a flag here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yep, that's for you. We have a few more faces, or for unfamiliar faces to me. My name's Patty Howes. I'm currently chair of the Planning Commission. We have Richard Frisky, Travis Chellis, Tyler Strange, and Dave Rasmussen that are serving on as planning commissioners currently. So, and over to my right, your left is, most people know, we have Cindy Bushman, who's our recording secretary. Ruben Schell is our planning consultant, and then Curtis Bushman is our zoning administrator. So, right. So first order on the item of business is the approval of our January 13 minutes. And does anyone have any edits they'd like to make to this? Cindy, I had one. Yes. It was C. Huxma. On the comments, public comments, you listed people. Just the wrong person. So it's C. Huxma, not C. Harris. Candy. I want to give her credit.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was you, right?
Yeah. Candy.
Yeah, it was Hooksma, not, okay.
Yeah. Any other edits?
Aaron is here. Yeah, okay. All right, I'll fix that.
Okay.
Honest mistake then. They're sisters.
Yes, they
I
are.
didn't know that.
I'll make the motion with your edit.
Okay.
I'll support.
All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
And who made the motion?
I did.
And then
Tyler
who
supported.
seconded? Tyler seconded?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Any announcements or correspondence from you, Cindy?
None.
Okay, I didn't get any either prior to the meeting. And so with that, we'll go ahead and move into public comment time. This is your time to speak, our time to listen. If anyone has a public comment, we would take that now. You'll also have an opportunity at the end of the meeting for public comment. Laura.
Okay. Laura Edwards, Church Road, Banks Township. I did send a letter. Apparently it didn't come through enough. You know, so I will read it.
Okay.
If that's okay. And
Yep.
I have a copy, but I did send it to you.
Okay.
So this is to the Planning Commission and the Township Board. This is from my husband Philip and I. We would like to commend everyone who worked on updating the master plan. It is a solidly researched and comprehensive document. Our greatest hope is that it is not just a well-done plan, but a working and enforceable plan for our community. If zoning is repealed, this master plan is simply a guide with no way to enforce the wishes and goals stated by the community. The township will lose their ability to guide and protect our township from overuse and exploitation of the land, waters, and our cherished rural environment. As longtime land and homeowners, we are especially concerned about the protection of the environment. We live on a designated wetland. As stated in Section 3 of the Master Plan, and I quote, Wetland areas and other water resources are of the utmost importance to the residents of Banks and the identity of the township itself. It is intrinsic to the region and should be protected as much as possible, end quote. Our concern is, how will this be accomplished when there is no zoning in place? Common sense zoning laws give the township the ability to protect the wetlands as stated in the master plan. Without zoning, we foresee a future where the township will be in constant, expensive litigation as they try to defend the environmental standards we appreciate today. In the survey results, 76% of those respondents stated water quality was important to them. How will this be attained and preserved without zoning laws? Please be very thoughtful and think of the future when voting on whether to repeal zoning next month. Thank you, Laura and Phil Edwards.
Thank you, Laura. Any other public comments at this time? Patty?
I oppose the master plan. To start with, the way it was created, a significant portion of this plan relies on the township survey that received only 49 responses, page 42 of master plan, out of well over 1,000 registered voters in Banks Township. 49 responses cannot reasonably be treated as a representative of this community, especially when the outcome affects every property owner for years to come. At the same time, nearly 300 residents signed a petition calling for the removal of zoning. That's not a fringe opinion. This is hundreds of people taking the time to clearly state their position, yet their voices don't appear to be meaningful reflected in this plan. When a very small survey is elevated and a much larger organized petition is minimized, it creates the impression that public input is being weighed selectively rather than honestly. I also want to point out that much of the plan relies on the 2022 census data. That data already is several years old and does not reflect current realities. However, one thing that repeatedly was demonstrated was a need for more housing in Banks Township. That leads to two questions this plan does not clearly answer. First, how does this master plan actually encourage more housing in Banks Township? Zoning restrictions often increase costs and reduce flexibility. If attracting families, seniors, or working residents is a goal, how does this plan make housing more attainable rather than harder? Second, how does this plan bring jobs into the township? Where are the opportunities for employment, for small businesses, for home-based work, or rural economic growth? Without jobs, people leave, and no amount of planning language can prevent that. Banks Township is ruled by choice. People live here because they value independence, private property rights, and the freedom to responsibly use their land without excessive regulation. On page 67, the master plan, it states that zoning plan is explicitly intended to form the basis of the zoning ordinance. This confirms that the document doesn't just guide vision, it directly influences actual zoning regulation. This plan is explicitly designed to support future increased zoning. This is not the will of the majority of the people, and it's not in the best interest of the Banks Township citizens. I advocated to keep the planning committee and to have a master plan for a future vision that is a bright vision, not more zoning. I think that you guys need to go back to the drawing board.
Thank you, Patty. Yes.
Terry, we keep talking about the water. I mean, we have DNR and Eagle, so to state that, I mean, all they keep hearing about is nobody's gonna take care of the water. We have Eagle and DNR in the state that do cover both of those very well. So it's not just zoning that's gonna protect our waterways. We have DNR and Eagle to do that.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else? Patrick?
Sure. Yeah, Paul McCann, it's Banks Township. Good to see y'all. Hello. So in the first public forum, this group voted 3-2 to not recommend suggesting to the board to repeal the zoning ordinance. So I recall the reasoning was that you heard a lot of voices express that we should fix the zoning. So here we are with this draft master plan and convinced that there was never intent to fix anything, but rather make the ordinances grow and more burdensome on this township than before. My first observation of concern in this plan starts on part 6, community engagement. Only 49 people participate in the survey. 28% or 15 people of these 49 people are non-residents. In the next paragraph, it states that the same 28% are folks that are new to the area, that live here 5 years or less. I don't know if this is intended to be misleading so that all 49 voices would be blended together to have the same weight on all parts of the survey. This plan is being presented as a vision for the whole township, yet it's largely based on a survey with only 49 participants. That is a very small fraction of our community. The master plan should reflect the values and priorities of the people who actually live here, not limit to a select few. If our township is gonna try to fix zoning, then why are we adding new ordinances? As far as community outreach, 49 out of, 1,100, 1,300 voters. Community outreach is done very well by the Board of Trustees. We all got that blue flyer in the mail. Every one of us should have gotten that, sent out to all the taxpayers and property owners in the township. That is good community outreach. Now we all know what's going on with that. You guys could definitely learn from, whoever on the Board of Trustees had that master plan of that mass mailing. So, do it again. Let's resurvey. Ask the voters and taxpayers of it's not too late. I mean, you guys do a new master plan every how many years? Sorry, time is short. So, new ordinance related to swimming pools. This is brought up in the past where Matt said at a meeting that it was ridiculous that we have zoning ordinances on pools. Later, this is followed up by a board member who said there is no ordinance on swimming pools. The board member should have added not yet, as we must have known that this is in this plan. Reasons for the pool policy is safety and impervious grounds. Misleading, as it states later in the next sentence, that it's okay with fencing or basically where nobody can see it, hidden in a backyard. What does this have to do with safety? Mandatory septic and soil testing at time of property sales to protect water quality. These kinds of requirements can increase costs and complicate property transfers and place new burdens on homeowners. Banks Township all of a sudden now has a calling to handle special events. The RV police want to come to a family reunion and count campers and shake things up. Sounds almost like the same type of overreaching that was going on over in Mission Peninsula. We need to ask some basic questions. Is there documented evidence of a widespread problem that justifies any of these new ordinances? Is the real intent with more ordinances to shake down taxpayers for more zoning permit fees and special use permits? I ask you to strike out anything in this new master plan draft that proposes new ordinances. How much of your time and our taxpayer dollars are you willing to burn for no real good reason other than creating an environment where neighbors use zoning as a weapon against one another and divide good people? 8 of 15 townships in Antrim County are not zoned and have all these property rights already, and this plan is slowly removing these basic rights from us here in Banks. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Yes.
Pat McCannell, it's
Hi.
Banks. I agree with the people I just heard. This master plan just seems to be more controlling. And as far as the survey that was taken, I've asked a lot of the citizens. They've never seen anything to deal with the survey. We've never seen anything to deal with the survey. We had no idea about it. So your outreach is pretty terrible. You should look at doing something better. And like my brother just said, that blue flyer that everybody got from the township board, yeah, we all saw that, but nothing about the survey for the master plan. And then after reading this today, as a matter of fact, refreshing, it's just more control. That's all you guys are doing, is more control. We don't want more control. The whole reason why we're fighting zoning is because there's too much control. You're taking away from the property rights of the property owners, the rights of the property owners. You guys gotta stop doing that. That's why we're fighting that. So, thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
Is this the public hearing section?
It seems we have slipped into that. If you have comments regarding the master plan, if you'd like to save them for that time, that would be helpful.
Okay.
Yeah.
I apologize if I spoke out of turn.
No, this is open, so it's okay. No apologies needed. Any other public comment? Yes.
Brad Waterman, Banks Township. I love that pools get brought up. Any community you live in, it's not controlling, you have to have a fence around it, just so kids don't drown. Just thought I'd mention that.
Okay,
It's in every community.
thank you. All right, we'll have time for public comment. We have 2 public hearings. You can speak on setbacks, the master plan, and then at the end of the meeting, you're welcome to share public comments. We don't, as I said, it's not a typical back and forth, but I do want to address the master plan, and I'll talk further about this, but I thank you for bringing it up. We all got this blue card, and you all got the blue card, or, excuse me, this blue card, same blue card, was sent out spring 2024 with the QR code asking, the specific language says, please complete the survey using the QR code or link below. Paper copies are available at the hall. You can also call for this phone number and we will happily mail you this survey. And a flyer went up in all the public places with the QR code. Public places meaning post office, front porch, and a few others around town that I cannot with 100% guarantee. But the same method in terms of trying to solicit input was used. And so I just want to make you aware of that. So could we do better? Obviously we didn't reach enough people, but that was our method of outreach. We don't have, the planning commission doesn't have social media. That's not a thing that we can do. We don't have any policy for that, and we likely will never use social media for outreach for that. So that's all I have to say about that. I do have more to say about that, but we'll save that for later. So, all right. With that, we're going to move into the public hearing for setback amendments. I want to say something about this before I open the public hearing. I would remind you, why are we having a hearing on setback amendments? Good question. On July 21st, 2025, the Township Board, at the Township Board, there was a motion made by Marv Rubin to ask the Planning Commission to review setbacks for the possibility of reducing or eliminating them. Support by Richard Frisky, motion carried. So that brings us to this moment in time. I'll tell you a little bit about our procedure, and then you'll all know what to expect. So we'll have a motion to open the public hearing. Ruben, our planning commissioner, will give you a summary of the amendment, the draft amendment. We'll listen to public comment, any correspondence that came in. I don't think there is any. And then we'll close the public hearing, and then we'll discuss, and then either make refinements or we'll vote. So that's the process that we are about to engage with. So with that, I would make a motion to open the public hearing for the setback amendment. Support by Travis. It's 6:19 and this public hearing is now open. Okay, Ruben, you are up to bat. You want to tell us a little bit about this amendment and how we landed at these kind of numbers?
Sure. So this is a zoning text amendment the Planning Commission has been considering for a few months now. Really the substance of it is to reduce front setbacks from 50 feet in the Conservation Residential District to 20 feet in that district, and to reduce setbacks in the Agricultural District from 35 feet to 20 feet. And and this kind of grew out of some concern of trying to make the setbacks just more accommodating of property owners and to allow people to add on to, single-family houses that exist in Banks Township with a little bit more kind of discretion at their part. So that's the intent, is to open up more of the lot on a typical lot to development, additions, that kind of thing, while still retaining some of that look and feel that the township has from the front property line to where the building would be. So it would impact really all buildings. That would be the front setback that future buildings would have to adhere to, is single-family residential buildings, sheds, garages, everything like that. That is really a summary of the draft this evening that's here for consideration. And of course, this is still in draft form. We can take this back and refine, reduce it more, or make adjustments from here, but the purpose is to hear public comment this evening.
Okay, thank you, Ruben. With that, we'll take public comment on the setback amendment.
Patty, I just have a couple questions.
Yes.
I remember one meeting when Curtis had talked about the guys over in Atwood that wanted to bring in a storage building, and how the setbacks there were all different. Is this gonna make it uniform, and does that include 31?
31 is a special animal. Curtis, do you want to speak to that?
I believe this amendment is only to change the front setbacks in CR and ag.
Right. Does that answer your question, Patty?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah, so every,
Manufacturing would still be 50.
Okay, all right. And then my other question was, I don't know how this really even plays in, but I just wanted to state it. In going around talking to people, a lady I didn't even know, she said, you know what really bothers me is you buy an old home and then years down the road, the roof is bad and I can't fix the roof because I'm too close to the road. So
That's not
how
true.
do those people?
That's inaccurate. You're not allowed to make adjustments any further into the setback area from the foundation, but in order to maintain the home and its existing structure like a roof, she is 100% able to do that, as well as windows, siding. If you want to adjust the footprint of the home and encroach any more on that, and then correct me if I'm wrong on that, that's where you start to get into the problematic area.
And this, it was kind of done to help alleviate that in some of the older houses like you're talking about in the ag and RC land, CR land.
any other public comment on this? Patrick?
Pat McCown's. So I like what you guys have here with the setbacks. I was the originator of this through Marv. This was because of my home is currently in a setback. And the fact that you know, in ag, you're pushing out to 20 feet, it pulls my home out of non-conforming. Thank you. So that's my comment.
Sure, I'll just say, like with my brother, I wouldn't be here now if it weren't for the setback thing. The whole, you know, guy repairs his home, we've lived here all our lives, we don't hang out in the Banks Township Hall like a lot of you, but the whole non-conformance zone and what you have different set of rules if you're in the non-conformance zone, and I said to people before, you know, if you buy a home in Banks and you're in the non-conformance zone, people should know, as like the realtor or the broker or somebody should tell these people, like, hey, you're in the non-compliance zone, you're limited on what you can do, you can't expand anything, and that's sometimes a big problem, like when you have to trench out the side of your house, you know, what do you, it's there for a reason, snow plows or whatever, people are gonna build a pole barn on the side of the road, or I don't know. some of it's common sense, but, it's good to see that, we're here tonight to, roll back a little bit on some regulation, and, thank you. That's, hopefully this township can do some more of that, cause it's excessive, and, people should, know the rules, you know, and sorry we didn't at the beginning, but, yeah.
Thanks. Fred?
Now, this is county and state highways, right? How about Antrim Dell, it's full private? Is there setbacks on that too?
They're in HOA. Do you want to speak to that? Are you in? Okay, I'm in that. Actually, it's a HOA and they have their own set of rules. And actually, they're more restrictive.
So if it's not on an HOA and you're on a private road, there is no setback?
No, it's
No, this is only an agricultural and CR, conservation recreation.
So if I'm on a private road that's not an HOA, I can build right on the side of the road.
You have to abide by whatever.
Why would you want to, though?
Because it's a private road.
Yeah, but why would you want?
This isn't a public, this isn't a public conversation. This isn't talking back and forth. This is talking to us.
Your established easement would dictate that, Fred, probably 66 feet for that road, I mean, private or otherwise, that would dictate your setback.
Okay.
Just the easement itself, that, you know, because it's private, you do have that bonus, I guess, of,
It's just kinda interesting.
you know.
All right, thank you.
Yes, Greg?
Okay, on the subject of setbacks, I do live in an HOA, and I don't believe our HOA has that setback restriction. We rely on the township restriction for that part of our HOA. And on another facet of the setback ordinances, there was a resolution passed in 2020, resolution number 3, that made propane tanks a structure. I would very much like to see that repealed. That's all I got today.
Thank you.
Okay, what's his name?
Is your name Greg?
No, I'm done.
Don.
King.
Don King.
Okay.
Any other public comment on setbacks? Okay, I'm gonna take a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion.
Travis, support by, excuse me, Tyler, support by Travis. It's 6:28. The public hearing is closed. All right, you've had some time to look at this and think about this. Any refinements that you would like to add? This is what we directed Ruben to put forth, and final refinements.
The only question I guess I have is what we landed on with lake lots, that the front is the front or a lot with two front lines.
I believe
Road is what this.
the road
This
splits,
is-
and Curtis, that's still I'm gonna ask you on that. When your lot is split by a road, the front of the, what I use Lake Michigan as an example, the front would be the westernmost part of that lot, correct? Facing, which has a 50-foot green belt, which is
This-
staying intact.
Yeah. Is there a footnote on this that,
On, this isn't the amended one, but there is a,
I hear you.
on the footnotes, there is a, footnote C4B for lots with border a lake or a stream, the minimum
Yeah.
structure setback on waterfront side shall be 50 feet.
Right, and you're not changing that.
Right.
Correct. It is only,
It's on the roadside of that split lot. That's what this pertains to, the 20-foot. I believe that was the intent of the planning commission, was it not? To
Yes.
Yes.
Allow a little bit closer to the roads,
Yeah.
Yep.
and so that's
That-
what it
that-
pertains
I guess
to.
that footnote is clear enough for people to understand. I guess that's my question.
Right. Do we need another footnote that says this? Or I think
I'm
that-
glad you brought that up, because I don't want somebody throwing this at me later. I think we need to add a footnote, another footnote at the bottom, and I don't know, at least for, the two that you're changing, that states that the, waterfront setback is not changing, even if, though it says front here, we gotta, somehow we gotta define in there, so that other people, when they're reading this, know that the front 50 on the lake still stays, but it's, when it comes to your spot going down the road there, it's the 20 feet on the back that's changing. So, I know it's confusing, but there should be something in there that I can at least refer them to say, no, this is how this is how I'm interpreting that.
Well,
So,
I guess I don't see any other footnotes for the previous setbacks. This was road. I think that the water, the footnote addressing the water.
So Ruben, can we, add clarification to this by I think it's the road, splitting the road for lakefront lots, we want people to be clear that that is still 20 feet, because actually I don't see that in here either. It just says, for lots which border a lake or stream, the minimum structure setback on the waterfront side shall be 50 feet from the ordinary high water mark, and you can like make a comment there and add, about lots that are, waterfront lots that are split by a road. Is that, you see what I'm going for?
So you'd like that footnote to say that,
it's just the confusion on the, like I said, when you got a property that's split, you technically got two fronts and two backs.
Yeah.
So, the rear setback, as we had with a gentleman on Lake Shore, that went to the ZBA, that was technically a rear setback, that the issue was, that he was within that setback. Again, technically a rear setback of the road right away. So either way, it didn't help him, but,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm clear on it.
I think that it makes it clear, for lots which border a lake or stream, the minimum structure setback on the waterfront side shall be 50 feet from the ordinary high water mark.
Right.
I don't think that we need to be redundant in what we're trying to achieve here. I think it's clear that moving forward, your front setback in all other instances that's not waterfront is to be 20 feet, all waterfront remains 50.
I'm fine with that. I know how
Okay.
we're interpreting it.
Now, can we solve another problem before it pops up with like the issue you had with the ZBA with that gentleman that wanted, roadside on the lake frontage? Can we move that to this 20 feet?
Well, now we're changing back line.
Now we're changing rear.
Well, but it's on, like Curtis said, you have two fronts and two backs, depending on how you're looking at it, lakefront. And this is what we're doing, this is from a road issue.
If I can add, the reason you're doing this is because, you're talking about those situations like we had last year, where it was along C-48, and it was the setback was within, structure was within the setback, of that, so it's getting reduced from that, in that case, from 35 to 20. This really has nothing to do with that lake situation, because in those situations, take Lake Shore, you would have to basically throw out your rear setback on some of those, because the homes are already so close to the road that's there, because there's just no room.
Right, and that's why I was asking you, because you were involved in it, would that?
Yeah, it would, like Curtis said, it wouldn't change anything for
Okay,
him.
that-
The situation is,
Answer my question.
I think you should just go with what you got
Yeah.
on this 20, and if you have future issues down the road that you need to address, then follow up with,
I was just wanting to make
Other
clear that
aspects.
people know that the front on the lakeside is the front.
Right.
Yeah.
And
And it looks
could
like-
say it down here, but people don't read down, they look at the graph, and the graph says, oh, front, 20. Right?
Well, would you understand it as builders, guys? Would that be clear to you? You
Well,
would,
you're gonna understand it when you call a zoning administrator, to get you.
That's
Yeah.
the thing, you're gonna have to put in some sort for most townships, or some townships, you're gonna need a zoning permit anyway, and at that point, you're gonna find out in any, whether you can or whether you're restricted or not.
okay. Okay. Good question, Dave. Are you ready to vote on this? Okay, I have a motion here. I move that the Banks Township Planning Commission recommend approval of the proposed amendment to the zoning ordinance to allow for reduced front yard setbacks in agricultural and conservation recreation zoning districts as presented, and forward the amendment to the Antrim County Planning Commission and the Banks Township Board of Trustees for review and consideration in accordance with the Michigan Zoning and Enabling Act.
I have a question. Is that terminology correct? Isn't it conservation reserve?
Conservation recreation.
Ours,
Okay, thank you.
yeah.
I was wrong.
Okay, that's okay.
I'll support.
Support by Trav. So all in, let's do, Tyler. Sorry, Tyler.
Do we need to switch seats?
Maybe. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, now we're gonna roll into public hearing for our master plan. Before we do that, kind of the same order, again, we welcome your comments, we thank you for sharing them. Yeah, and a little bit of background here. So we had, on how we got our data for this. We did send out this postcard with the QR code, with this language, and it was out there for 12 weeks, from June 10th, 2024 to August 30th, 2024. And so that's how we obtained our data. And we thank you to the 49 people that did reply. It's helpful, it's really helpful. I understand, I think Ruben and I figured it out, it was like 2% of our population. And apparently that's not that unusual. I don't know if people have survey fatigue and of course this was taken before we had any conversation about repealing zoning. So I think if we did retake it, we maybe perhaps would have more feedback. Given that, we still had the 63-day review period. And in that 63-day review period, we solicited your input on that. And I thank you to those who did review. It's important to us, so thank you. It was 6 of you, though. It was the clerk, the supervisor, and myself that had the biggest level of input. And out of our whole township, only 6 other people commented on that. So, that's the level of, and we're kind of at a peak point for engagement, and yeah, so it's a little bit hard to solicit input when we put it out there for you. So, but that's what we did. That's how we collected our data. At this time, I would move that we open this public hearing. I'll make a motion to open the public hearing. Support by Travis, and it's 6:39. So Cindy, our public hearing is now open. Ruben, could you please give us some a summary comments from feedback, please?
Yes, so this draft master plan was distributed for the 63-day review period. That's required by the Michigan Planning Enabling Act back in December of 2025. So we circulated letters to a number of required agencies and departments, the County Planning Commission, different communities surrounding Banks Township. They got the notice that the draft master plan was available for them to review and comment on. It was made available as well in Township Hall for residents, members of the public to comment on over that 63-day period. So that's now elapsed in February of 2026. I think we received, as Patty, you mentioned, there 10 comments from officials and members of the public via email in that time. And I just forwarded this on to you all tonight for you to take a look at and consider. There's comment in there from county planning staff and the planning commission at Antrim County, a couple of different residents, the township clerk, a couple of different officials, Supervisor Busman, Patty had some comments as well. So those are all in there. So I would encourage you all to take a look at all of that tonight and going forward. This is just a public hearing that's required by the Michigan Planning Enabling Act at the end of the 63-day review period. So I would say you don't feel like you need to take any action on this tonight. You don't need to adopt it. You don't need to recommend adoption or decide on what refinements you want to make to this document, if any, tonight. But just to start taking into consideration this, the comment that's received and what you hear this evening. So going forward, I would say I would like to suggest a path forward would be to I can take all this input and say, what we can incorporate into the document right now as it stands, or as opposed to what feedback, if you all wanted to address it, would require it to go back through the public engagement process. Because there are certain comments in here that are like substantial enough, reworking the future land use categories of the goals and objectives, the principles, those kind of things that would require like substantial updates to the plan and would require to kind of go back through the process if we were to like address those. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I'd like to maybe suggest that as a next step going forward from this evening, and again, I think public comment period tonight is like one of the main purposes.
Okay. Thank you, Ruben. We did hear some public comment on master plan. Thank you for those who shared your comments. Do you have anything else that you'd like to share about the master plan? Don.
I do. My name's Don King from Banks Township. And I have learned a lot by coming to these meetings. And one of the big takeaways from the more recent meeting was how important this master plan is in the development of our township. So in reading some of both the 2019 master plan as well as the new one, I'm going to start out by saying I'm in support of the master plan, and then I'm going to read some excerpts from it. So Banks Township has a locally adopted master plan and administers its own township zoning ordinance. Since Michigan law requires that a zoning ordinance correspond with a current adopted master plan, an important step in maintaining it is an enforceable zoning ordinance. Again, I also stand in favor of the zoning ordinance. Zoning ordinance is a good thing when it's administered properly. We can't have a good old boy network of how we run the zoning ordinance. The zoning is about bringing the township forward in a good direction. Its many goals and objectives in the plan are to preserve rural character, protect natural resources, maintain transportation networks, support parks and recreation opportunities, encourage a range of housing options, and promote economic development. Many of these goals and objectives were in the 19 plan, and they are not new. The responsible parties for many of the natural resource goals are the Planning Commission and the Township Board. The retain and enhance the township's quiet, scenic, rural character. protect natural resources, protect water quality, protect and cultivate agricultural lands. Infrastructure goals, improve and maintain the roads, support high-quality public facilities, provide high-quality parks. These are all responsibilities of the Township Board and the Planning Commission. Housing and neighborhood goals, encourage a broad range of housing. I would really like to see more, maybe low-income housing, and I'm aware to develop that, but I'd like to see that come about, and these are responsibilities of the Planning Commission. Support the existing and future needs of businesses. Again, Planning Commission. I like to see businesses grow and develop here, of all kinds, as long as we protect our environment and protect our future. So as a key component of the master plan, the zoning plan is based on the recommendations of the master plan and is intended to identify areas where existing zoning is inconsistent and with the objectives and strategies of the master plan, and to guide the development of the zoning ordinance. They go hand in hand. The zoning ordinance is the primary implementation tool for the future development of Banks Township. So on the zoning repeal thing, nowhere in the master plan does it suggest that repealing zoning is a good idea or even desirable. And then on the subject of the survey that was done back in
2024.
I did get that in the mail, and I looked at it, and because I'm brand new here, I'm one of these newbies, I elected not to participate, but I did see it. And I'm sorry I didn't participate then. I'm happy to participate now. Thank you for your time, and thank you all for your interest in our community.
Thank you, Don. Paul, you look like you're about ready to.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know that I lose my last turn to speak on the last public comment.
You didn't lose your turn.
Okay, so I have this, I was with a few guys, we did a little think tank on the new master plan. And with what's in it, what we don't like about it is corrected by some proposed ideas. I hope it's not too late. It's not too late. I mean, what do we do this every 8, 10 years?
Every 5, but
Every
yeah.
5, okay, so we have time. Is there a rush to get this pushed through? I share this with you guys. That's all I can do. And here, I'll give you 3 friends a copy as well. And Richard, sorry, I'm lazy. If you can take one, pass it down. Yeah, thank you. So it kind of hits high level on what's in your master plan and us freedom-loving township citizens, what we would rather see. It's kind of the middle ground. It's not extreme. It's just more common sense, easier to live your life, be equal, and have some freedom. So anyway, it's late in the game. You've done your survey. I could easily get you 108 signatures on a little petition saying we like this to be in your thing. I can get you that like next week. Anything to help kind of get this more of a middle ground instead of just pushing more ordinances. I just can't believe that's what we're gonna do, is after all of this, you guys say you wanna fix zoning, now's your chance, and there's some good ideas. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Okay.
Laura.
Laura Edwards, Church Road, Banks Township. I just wanna once again commend the work that was done on the master plan. I know that's a great deal of work. As far as all this discussion about the setback amendments and other people's discussion, we have to realize if zoning is repealed, the master plan is just a guide. The setback amendments, none of that will be enforceable. We are in a world of litigation and hurt. If this whole committee will be dissolved, there will be no planning commission. I don't know if people realize that. So we will, Banks Township will look a lot different, and I think people should be aware of that. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. Patty.
I'd just like to point out that the attorney stood up at one of the township meetings and said that was not accurate, that the planning committee did not have to be dissolved if zoning went away. The attorney said it.
Any other public comments?
I have more of a question. And you don't have to answer this is just, I'm putting it out there. If, that, oh yeah, Leslie Gutnick, thanks Township. I'm just curious what happens to opportunities for grants and funding. If we have initiatives that we wanna pursue here in the township and we don't have zoning, are we losing opportunities for investment? And I've read some things that suggest that that could be the case. Are we shooting ourselves in the feet if we were to do that? Is there a common sense middle ground that, I'm really not informed, I'm really just here to try to get educated, but, I would feel that that's a concern. So, that's it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
Motion by Travis, second.
I'll support.
Support by Dave. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, a motion carried. Okay. Leslie, the answer to your question is yes. Those opportunities are compromised. We did have feedback from the, so I like Ruben's plan with this. I think you need time. There are some policy things that need to be addressed. Specifically, I believe in future land use. And if you can refer to our current master plan on future land use, there's some of the same things that help me to look at the old one and compare new policy things. The Antrim County Planning Commission had no conflict there. It just says staff sees no major inconsistencies between the master plan of Banks Township and the existing master plans of our bordering townships, which is Norwood, Marion, Eveline, and South Arm Township. So the county is good with our master plan. I think we should take time to review the comments that came in, and I would ask that we ask Ruben specifically to put together some sort of summary for us by the type of response. I don't think we need to do technical, clerical, those can just be corrected. But regarding policy things, specifically on future land use, it'd be important to take a look at that. So I would suggest that would be our path forward. We're not prepared to adopt this tonight, so. Do you have another suggestion on how to move forward on this?
I'd like to read over.
Yeah, I'd like to read all the comments that were sent in, all the things that were given to the clerk, and then forward it over to us, take into consideration what everyone has said here today, and come back and I think have an action point of what do we want to start working on next week, and everyone come to the table, or next month, with how do we want to review based on what we're getting here today.
Okay.
And I read most of the comments that were attached to the master plan and stuff. I didn't, obviously, like everybody else just got those tonight, but the things that popped out here is the loans. What was in there for giving loans for home improvement?
Oh, yeah.
Some of that stuff is like, that's a
Yeah.
rabbit hole.
Right, that's a thing I suggested an edit. There's no funds for such a thing.
Right, and then I had that as the pools. I mean, you have to get another permit. I mean, I could see the requirement, hey, if you put a pool in, go ahead, but put a fence around it.
Mhm.
But to have to get another special use outside what the county requires. And then, again, with I got a few calls on the septic requirement that people were against. It was one more thing. They said, the county, you have to do that, and
I struggle a bit with that, because you don't know, and maybe I'm taking too broad of a range of it, and I understand both sides of it, genuinely I do, but we're pretty blessed to live in a region of the world that we have drinking water that we're able to do. And we are, in the grand scheme of things, a relatively new country, if you look at the rest of the world. And while I definitely don't want to put more restrictions on people and make it harder, I do not think it's an overly burdensome thing to look into of protecting that, as things can leach down through the soil over time. If you only have a water table, or you only have water well that's down 50 feet, and you have a static water line at 35 feet, that means that your water is really only 35 feet below the ground. And I think that that's, while, again, don't want to restrict people, but let's also be pretty protective of that, so that way it's not just us, it's generations and generations and generations of people that we're setting that up for. And we do live in a pretty rural area, but 500 years ago, people lived in a pretty rural area, but now they're not allowed to have, they don't have as stable of drinking water as they had back then as they do now. So that's my only input in on that whole thing. So, and that's something that we can dive into moving forward as well.
Ruben, was any of that kind of brought on by some proposals at a state level? I know that a lot of the drain field and restrictions and inspections, and I know they were trying to push for that.
It's current in Traverse City. They demand septic inspections.
Yeah, I don't happen to know for sure whether that's where that originated from.
It's a newer
Yeah.
requirement.
Traverse has had it for, I believe, the county as a whole, the better part, if not more than a decade.
Okay.
Because when I lived down there, it was a requirement
Okay.
when I bought my house down there back in 2012, 2013. So it's been around for a while, and I get that that's more of a populated area and more condensed. So that's where I see both sides of it, right? I'm not trying to make it any more difficult on anyone, but if I recall, it was $150 permit or $150 inspection that you had to require. You didn't have to purchase a permit. You just had to, in order to go to the closing table, have someone come in, check the state of your tank, make sure that it's going into the appropriate drain field, and it was an approval that you could then go to the closing table for. And to be fair, if you're buying a $200,000 home, while I don't want to require anyone to spend any more money than they need to, just don't think that that's a bad thing for the future of generations of people to come, in my opinion. Especially if we look towards, we want to bring in more housing, and we want the community to grow, and we want to become more populated. Like, we kind of have to think through that categorically, in my opinion, in order to make sure that we're setting everyone else up for the future.
Yeah, there was some really good feedback in there from people. Greg Zimmerman talks about waterfront residential as a future land use. It's currently in there. He has some really instructive questions. So take some time with that, guys, and then we'll ask Ruben to put a summary together for us, and we'll talk policy things that we need to talk through and can take into consideration tonight, public comments. So that would be my proposed path forward. All right, next on our agenda, Dave, have you had any ZBA activity?
No.
Okay. Curtis, zoning administrator, is there anything for us that you'd like to share tonight?
No, I've just got a couple things that I'm working on with some people, but nothing really to report. Only had one zoning for the last month.
Okay. And Richard, board, any highlights from board?
Okay, yes, we met on the 19th of January last, and significant things that we decided on for this year's road projects were, we voted to pursue an opportunity with the County Road Commission to redo half of Essex Road, which would, the County Road Commission would cooperate with us if we contribute $200,000 from the township to that. So we're hopeful that that's gonna become reality. Then we spent most of our time in the last meeting working on the 26-27 budget, and we have a public hearing on that at our next meeting, which is Monday, this coming Monday. And we also moved ahead on the trash cleanup day, and it's set for May 9th. I'd say that's most of the things.
Okay,
Big things.
very good, thank you. All right, next on our agenda is the Planning Commission report. This was cleaned up date-wise, and any refinements you want to make to this before we adopt it and forward this to the Township Board?
They look great.
Okay. Good? Okay. All set? All right, do we just need a motion to adopt this, Ruben?
I think, yeah, motion would, just send it to the board,
Mhm.
per the Michigan Planning Enabling Act, would be appropriate, yeah.
Okay. So I would move that we adopt the Planning Commission 2025 annual report to be forwarded to the Township Board, according to the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act. Support by Dave. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, next up, two-family dwelling. The last page on this, well, let me just start by saying a little bit of background on this. We took an existing ordinance, we added to two districts, two-family dwelling, in addition to single-family in agriculture and CR, conservation recreation. We've talked a lot about water, and I would like to read this last page just so that the public knows what we're talking about. This is the money page, if you will. Two-family dwellings. Two-family dwellings shall not be permitted on lakefront lots as defined in this ordinance whose water frontage is located on Lake Michigan or on the chain of lakes, defined for purposes of this subsection as Lake St. Clair, Ellsworth Lake, Wilson Lake, and the navigable waterways directly between connecting these lakes. So that was what we asked Ruben to add. We've said before, I'll have to say what I have to say, and then I'm very curious to hear what you all think about this. Zoning is a tension between balancing public good versus private property rights. And in my assessment with this, we stay true to observing the residents and visitors' high value that they place on water, our most valuable natural resource, while still adding housing that meets varying economic formats. All the property that surrounds public lakes, of course, is privately owned. Those little inland lakes are generally inaccessible to most of us. However, the Lake Michigan and the three chain of lakes that are in our township are a treasure to all of us. And the land use on those lakes affects everyone downstream. So in my estimation, this strikes that balance between private property rights versus public common good. So what are your thoughts, guys?
I think that we've had a lot of discussion on it, and this is kind of after, I don't know how many meetings on this topic for. We've kind of come to a head of where, I don't know, I see everyone finding this as the happy medium going forward while allowing, like you just said, opening up more opportunity for housing, but also safety netting the resource that we have in lakefront and waterfront.
I agree with the waterfront stuff, but going through the master plan, the duplex has got, again, reading through this, duplex has got 16% support. Ag, CR, that was the most, anywhere from high 80s to 70. and if, you know, if we're keeping with the master plan, we wanna keep our ag and our CR. But we're gonna allow duplexes everywhere.
Not everywhere.
Right, and then comes, again, I see the other side of it being the school board with you know, we're losing kids every year, part of that's due to, you know, we're missing our teachers, cause housing and stuff. And going through the past things that we've done, is this something, to keep it somewhat in check with a need, could we allow it with a special use permit? In these CR, and so we're not getting clusters and to have somewhat.
I see a special use permit as being, I don't know how you administer that fairly among everybody. We'll grant this one, but now we're getting too much down there, and now we decide all of a sudden, I don't know, I see that as being ambiguous.
I feel like that opens up the door for the potential of it. If everyone meets it, if everyone meets the restrictions or what needs to be done in order to get that special use permit, you have to allow it. And
Right.
if you're gonna allow it, then we should either allow it, because otherwise, I don't know, I see where you're coming from, absolutely, but are we being redundant in what we're trying to do? Are we requiring now to make it harder to go through that? And if there ends up being a bunch of them, what can you do about it? If they're
Yeah.
meeting the special use permit and fulfilling everything they need to, you can't do anything at that point anyway.
Right, you know, again, and I see this from 4 different angles. Again, if you're going by the input from the public, you know, single family housing was, you know, a lot of support. I had, you know, got lots of numbers written down here, I don't know if that was 70, you know, but again, if that's what we're going on, is what the public wants and some of this stuff, they want more housing, but duplex on with all the things listed, again, 16% were in support of that. Is how do you, is there a, and again, I see the need for it with the school suffering. I don't want a duplex next to my house. Just on a professional opinion. So, how do you have that happy medium where it's?
Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to haggle numbers with you, cause it'll take me a minute to search, but I do believe the 2024 survey was higher than 16%. Granted, not a lot. But for sure, how the need for housing was expressed.
Right, and I agree. That's, again, I see this from every angle and.
Yeah.
My opinion is, it came to us because we learned that we have some of these out there, and this is us trying to fix that problem. We could pass this tonight, I can guarantee you, there's not people just waiting for us to make it all right to build duplexes in Banks Township. You can't afford to build a single-family home. How are you gonna build 2-family home simply to rent it out? I don't think this is opening the door for this influx of building in our community. But it will take care of the existing ones that we know that are nothing more than, some of them are older folks, got a, you know, finished basement, they're trying to make a mortgage or whatever to try to offset the cost of, you know, some of their housing. I think this would address a lot of our problems and open back up some of these, or even encourage it, to some of these houses that have that opportunity.
And it is 2 districts,
Mhm.
just the 2 districts, so.
It's allowed everywhere else, and people, again, they're not building them.
They're already allowed in, what other districts where are they already allowed in? Village, for sure.
Village.
Residential.
Okay. far enough. I asked for multi-unit housing in all districts, and I know that's too far, but I don't think this goes quite far enough, so, but it's a step in the right direction. Travis, to your concern, I mean, if a duplex would allow two people or two families to live somewhere, how's that worse than having two houses? You know, if you don't want houses next to you, you can reduce the number of houses by something like this, potentially. Just it's a little higher density of people living in a little denser situation, which is probably gonna be necessary if we really wanna make housing more accessible.
I think it goes back to zoning will never be perfect. It's a living document, and we just need to make steps, and as issues come up, we work through them and try to take the master plan, and obviously we're gonna continue to work on that, but have that be our guide, and we'll never win every single, you won't be all pros all the time. Travis, I totally get where you're coming from. There's always gonna be a little bit of contradictory, that's not the word I'm looking for, but it's unfortunate, but that's kind of where we're at.
Is there any tweaks you'd like to see to this?
I don't know how you tweak it, that's my point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that's,
We've talked about it, we've gone back
Right.
and forth.
I
I think
know.
our last correction was this, lake frontage. And with that said, I would move that we set this up for a public hearing.
I'll support.
Travis supports. All in favor of setting, we don't need to make a motion to set a public hearing? Okay. Okay. Thank you for the initiative, though. But regarding public hearing, I won't be here in March. If we have a 2-2 split decision,
In light of that,
yes.
I would propose that we don't meet in March.
Okay, we can discuss that at the end.
Okay.
Yep. But if we had if we move forward with a public hearing in March on this, which I believe we will have enough time, if we have a 2-2, that's a problem? That,
The vote would just be on sending it to the. board,
right, and
correct?
then, sending it to, forward this to the Antrim County Planning Commission and the Township Board.
Mhm.
Or actually, first we set a public hearing is what
Right.
we do, and then get their feedback,
Right,
and then,
but that's what you're addressing, is if it was a 2 to vote to send it up.
yeah, that's not an issue then, is it?
I don't think that's
No,
gonna be an issue.
okay. All right, very good. So we'll set a public hearing for this. And Richard will talk about when we meet next, because that will determine our public hearing. All right. That's all I have to say about that for now. All right, and then in your packet, the last, or one of the next item on the agenda is correspondence with Catherine Kaufman, our attorney, and we can expect her April 14th at our meeting, and I will, or Ruben, one of us will get together and make a decision and prod her again, asking for something concrete so we can discuss, but she said that she would be here April 14th and start where we are, wherever we're at, and I think you all read the emails that we had, the chain there, and so we can look for her. Now, at the public hearing on March 5th, we'll be there too, so be sure to say, hey, introduce yourself and say we're looking forward to that sand and gravel ordinance, so. I just wanted to bring you up to speed on that. New business, I put in here, forwarded to you some education opportunities from the MSU Extension, the Citizen Planner course. There's an in-person or a hybrid course. I actually think I'm gonna do this again. I did it once. I did the online, it was really good. It does conflict with 2 nights of our, 2 of the 6 nights that we have a meeting. I can guarantee you it won't be a 6-hour long night, or excuse me, a 3-hour long night, 6 to 9. But it is beneficial, and any educational thing I've done, one of the main benefits is just that side conversation you have with, the networking and the things you learn from other people. So, if you're interested, the township will pay for that, and it is well worth your time. So, just put that out there. If you want to do that, please let Julie know, our clerk. The last thing I have before public comment is just to remind everybody that we have a public hearing March 5th at the Ellsworth High School gym, 6 p.m. Doors open at 5:30. This would be a public hearing to hear comment regarding repeal zoning ordinance and potential. That is March 5th. That's a Thursday evening, Ellsworth High School gym.
For new business, I'd like to put it on the agenda to address the propane tanks brought up tonight.
Okay.
And also, I had reached out on the camper ordinance.
Do you want to elaborate on that, or?
I just didn't bring it, was the campers only being allowed I think it's 90 days on the property and extended stay. To look at those two ordinances were brought. Don brought that up tonight, and then it was a resident reached out. They just actually bought some property in the township and was looking to build.
Okay. They may be able to have remedy through the ZBA if it's I can't speak for them. I'm just throwing this out there, like if they want to stay in their camper where they're building their house kind of situation, or there may be remedy through the ZBA. Is there anything more you wanted us to consider?
Well, like half a dozen people have reached out saying they don't like the camper ordinance.
Oh.
So, and then there's just a new person that again bought, I believe it was 10 acres or something, looking to.
Church Road?
Yep.
Already talked to her.
Okay. But that wasn't the first person that brought up the camper ordinance either.
Okay.
So.
I got on the planning commission at the tail end of that, and I think they had like 2 years worth of meetings over that.
And my take is our camp ordinance is more restrictive than the city of Gaylord's camp ordinance. So when you've got a city that is, we've got a township that's more restrictive, a rural township that our camp ordinance is more restrictive than a city, it's might need to be looked at, so.
Okay.
To address the LP tanks, and I'm going completely by memory from 6 years ago. I think that was created as a structure because of them just setting tanks wherever. Up front, property lines, there was no guidelines, and it come down to a battle between neighbors and a tank that sat on the line, and there was no guidelines to where that tank was set. So I think that was the solution was, okay, at least we can say, this is where your tank goes, and by that simple permit or whatever, it puts some eyes on it, so you don't have neighbors yelling at each other once your propane company comes out and just sets the tank wherever you may wanna set it. Again, we can look into it, but I think that was what, why the decision was made, so there was a little bit of clarity on where they can set.
Okay.
Do we want to address what Richard brought up about the march
Yes.
before we go into public comment?
Sure. So, trying to think, you would be looking at comments from master plan. You could have a public hearing for the two-family dwelling. Are you proposing that we just cancel our meeting until April?
Yes.
Well, then we've got Kathy in April though.
Mm-hmm. It's all right. She's good with sitting through meetings.
Well, we're paying her to be here by the hour. And so, if we have to set up a public meeting for this, that we're all pretty much on board of, for for the duplexes.
Okay, so you're not worried about a 50-50 vote?
So I'm not worried about a 50-50
I'm not worried
vote. I
about
don't
that.
see, again, that's kind of what we've got some kickback from, that we're taking too long on these things that we're doing. I think we're just kicking down the road.
I'm in agreement with Travis on that. I think it's just, we continue on, and unfortunately, we won't have everyone there, but I don't see that as, we don't have a lot of new business up on the docket moving forward.
No,
So I don't see that as being an overly burdensome meeting.
okay, okay, very good, and I'll,
I
so,
have faith in the four of us, Richard. I think we do.
I have faith in the four of you too. All right, so the next meeting will be March 10th, 2026, right here.
And a public hearing for the,
Yes, and so yes, thanks Cindy. Let's have a public hearing on the draft for the two-family dwelling.
I won't be here on the 10th of March.
That changes it.
So we still have a
We
quorum.
got a quorum with three.
So-
You do have a quorum with 3,
Yep.
Let's continue on.
okay. Unless one of you gets sick or something, let Travis know.
Two farmers and a builder, what could go wrong?
Somebody's gonna lose a finger
Oh,
between
geez,
it.
Okay. All right, at this time, we take public comment. Don?
Okay, Don King, Bank Township. And, again, I just wanna restate that I'm in favor of the zoning, and I think that the whole idea of, bringing it to, a vote was short-sighted and, according to the master plan, not well-based. But now I really appreciate you wanting to talk about the propane tank issue, because that was something that happened where I wasn't even moved in yet, and it came to the board before it ever came to me that my propane tank was on the property line. I remedied that the next day, and then I became very knowledgeable on the subject of propane tanks. There is a national code, National Fire Protection Code number 58, which deals with propane tanks and how close they should be to everything, property lines, buildings, all whatnot. All you need to do is adopt NFP 58, and that'll cover all your issues of propane tanks, be they buried in the ground, be they buried in the surface, everything. That should never have happened. Resolution 3 of 2020 should be stricken. And it didn't end up solving the problem that the complaint created. Propane tank got moved, it stayed right there. It's a problem to no one. We're hundreds of feet away from anything else. So that's what I say about that. Thank you for listening, and I'll end my stump speech right there. Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
I'm
Laura.
sorry for my third time, Laura Edwards, Church Road. I just want to thank this commission for all of their work. And from the discussion tonight, it just reinforces to me, we talked about two-family dwellings. Well, land use on water frontage won't be applicable if there's no zoning. One member said he doesn't want a duplex next to his house, zoning. Another member said he wants multiple use housing, zoning. This all is going to come down to multiple special use permits, which then will be an entire headache for the township and the board, and this whole commission will not be here to deal with it. So I just want to thank you for all of your work, and I want people to be very aware.
Fred?
Fred Huxma. This duplex thing was only brought up because one of our ex-zoning officials, one of our people that enforce zoning, went behind zoning and put in a duplex. And now, instead of saying she can't have, since they can't have it, now we're gonna change the rules and regulations for one person, instead of fining them and telling them they can't have it. So this is the buddy system. It's who you are, not fair for everybody. Would you do that for me? Would you do that for anybody else? Or just because they were an ex-zoning official and an enforcer that didn't have to follow the rules? I don't think we ought to have duplexes, and I think that people ought to be fined and not have a duplex. Sorry.
Thank you, Fred.
You're gonna do that for them, you're gonna do it for every zoning ordinance. You gotta make exceptions for everybody then, not just your friends. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? All right, with that, I would take a motion to adjourn the meeting. Or, excuse, let me give the planning commission, you have the last word. Anything you want to say?
Yes, I had one.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't, yes, your name?
Leslie.
Leslie, if I understood your question right, I think she asked whether eliminating zoning would, it was in the context of the master plan discussion, but I thought you asked if eliminating zoning would potentially jeopardize grant opportunities, et cetera. And so if that was your question, then I disagree with your answer, because your answer may have been more accurate as relates to a master plan, but I would answer that question a little differently. I would much rather see the opportunities that the private sector would act on when there's less regulation than to rely on an occasional grant. That's not something that we're really gonna live by, and I think that the private sector with less regulation will more than make up for anything we're ever gonna see in grants. That's my comment.
Okay. Thank you, Richard. All right, I would take a motion to adjourn.
Support.
I'll make a motion.
Tyler,
Travis.
Travis. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, thank you, guys. What level of support would you like from me? Do you want me to put together an agenda for next month? And you just execute and call me if you have questions? Okay, and did you get the packet of comments?
Yeah, cause I got the other stuff you sent, or Julie printed out stuff from me, but I didn't, unless I just missed it.
No, it's 40 pages, you can't miss it.
Yeah, I didn't miss that.
All right, very good, that's.
I don't know what it is, but I'm like almost always sick of these meetings. So I couldn't, I didn't know you were, I didn't know you must be, your meeting makes me feel.
Do you have that motion you made written out?
Yes, I do.
I recorded it, but I'm, just in case, I would like to either take a picture of it or have it.
You may have the motion. Do you know what we do with any of this equipment?
AJ's gonna come down and take care of it.
Is this mine? Yeah,
Just
here we
wanna
go.
make sure I get it written. When you said it.
All yours.
Thank you very much. Have a good trip.
Thank you.
Here's a copy of my letter. I
Thank
did
you.
send one.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we'll make this part of public
Well,
record.
that's fine. I did email it with the new email address and stuff, so I'm not sure.
Okay, did you
The
send it to the clerk?
Banks Town, I sent it to the planning commission and the clerk.
Okay.
Banks Township, mi.gov,
Let me
so
just
it's
check
new,
real
but
quick.
that's okay. I was working at the bookstore today, so it was like 4 o'clock when I did it, so it might be something. But I sent it to, and then to Alex.